AITA bought a new toy to make a point. We've been together for 27 years, married for 24, got 2 kids. One kid is quote unquote on her own, living in my basement with her boyfriend. We have radically definitions of on her own. And the other is about to head to university. Since all I've ever really known is being a dad, it has been my hobby, duty, passion, all rolled into one. Since they don't need me the same way these days, I picked up a hobby, flying remote control planes. My wife hates the idea of me doing anything outside of her presence.
What?
It's become a bit controlling. Now, we've been through a lot, as anyone with a long-term partner, and she's as good a partner as I could hope. Last year or so, I've had some consulting work come along that I'll accept calls with clients for a few $100s. I've been wanting to buy a new plane, so I tucked the money from 2 of these calls into a different card. Whenever I even talk about the hobby, wife is angry. I mentioned grabbing something before these idiotic tariffs take hold here in the US, and it was a fight. I went and ordered it from the side fund. It will be here this week. My thought is I made money we don't need, tucked it out of our normal bank, and bought a plane. I kind of feel like one, but it also feels like I'm being controlled. AITA. First of all, let me just say, I've always loved remote control things. When I was a kid, we used to actually, I was thinking about this, is so crazy. So my dad would buy, we had the rockets. You ever do SS rockets as a kid? It was basically, dude, it was literally just like a plastic tube. And then you would buy these engines. And then it would, and the engine was basically just a firecracker, really. And then it would launch the rocket up. And then if things went well, and they almost never did, the top would pop off and then it would parachute down. So there's no really control, but you could, launch it.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then this is the crazy one. We had we had a helicopter. And it was 2 blades, and one was big and it would slow it down. And then one was small, maybe 5 inches. Not that that's small! And,
oh, wow.
And my dad would do it because it would cut your finger clean off. And you would spin it. It would kickstart, right? So you'd spin it with your finger. And then it would just fucking and just fly. And then the big blades would kind of slow it down as it fell. Because this is before drones and all that shit. And that's kind of my gripe as a little bit of a millennial here, is that the drones are so good. There's no risk with them. They're object detected. You could impact battery low. It's there's no room for failure. And so you can just be a total idiot. They're 2 idiots.
I think
not
they
are.
I think they're actually really dangerous still. And a lot of risk is involved still with drones, which at first I thought you said Jerome. And I was like, who's Jerome? And why are you flying
Oh, Jerome.
him?
Yeah, we fly this guy named Jerome. He's a little bug, our little bug friend.
But drones are still very dangerous. But I get what you're saying.
I mean, I have
more automated.
No, you're right. I mean, there was a woman at Echo Park recently. This genius was her bareback propellers that could just bonk you right in the eyeball. Yeah. She's flying it at eye level in the middle of the path.
Terrifying.
And so I always start these interactions the same way. And I'm like, hi, really nice drone you have. Such a Trojan horse. And then I'm like, yeah, you're flying it at eye level. Are you trying to hurt people?
Yeah.
And the geese. Oh my God.
They make the ones with a little bumper condom thing on them.
I know. I'm like, you just got raw dog propellers out here, lady. You crazy?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you guys seem quiet on this one. My read on this is we've been together 27 years. I got a feeling this ain't a bad lady. I got a feeling she's a great mom. And I got a feeling that maybe the issue is that she's controlling you because something's not being fulfilled with her, and she needs you to help her, bro. And instead you're fucking punting around with your little airplanes.
Yeah, I don't know how to pathologize it, honestly.
I mean, I get that because I feel like, what was it? Wife swap, baby. I'm still watching it. Still watching Wife Swap. And but in one of the Wife Swaps, she was type A anal cleaning. Everything was clean to the point where her family was like, we're not asking for this. Stop spending 6 hours a day cleaning. We don't fucking care.
So
but then
much.
that in itself was her trying to be useful, and then them being we don't fucking care about what you're doing. And then she's like, well, I'm spending all this time doing this thing that you don't even appreciate. And it's this vicious cycle of her not knowing where she stands or what she's supposed to be doing, because she doesn't have anything now that the kids have grown up and left the house. So it does seem like he found a hobby and potentially she doesn't have one of her own, which is why she wants to be around all the things he's doing. But I don't think that he should not buy a hobby plane because she's against it. I think it's an asshole move that he has a different bank account.
Start a hobby plane affair. Obviously, that's the
I think you're right, though. He should be including her more.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're with someone for 27 years and this is your sole gripe, he doesn't mention anything else. You guys successfully raised 2 kids. I mean, one lives in the basement, but honestly, these days, I'm like,
Good as it gets.
that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really believe that she's crazy because this is kind of like, she's being crazy.
I don't think he says that she's being crazy.
But that's
he
the
says,
idea,
hates
right?
the idea of me doing anything outside of his presence. It's
Well,
become
that's
a bit
crazy.
controlling. I think that there's somewhere between being crazy and being not having anything else going on.
But I agree with that. But what I'm trying to say is it's like he's so blind to her side that she seems like she's just doing something randomly controlling. And I'm like, you obviously love this person. So I think he's not seeing something with her. And I think you should help her through that. That's part of marriage. I mean, I think you nailed it. That seems like it. It's empty nester syndrome.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe she isn't ready to quite move on. And he needs to help her with that. Instead of sneakily buying, bro, you shouldn't be doing that.
Look, never sneakily buy anything in a marriage.
Yeah.
Unless it's a surprise gift.
Truth.
And even that can get you in troubles.
For your mistress.
She's up to no good.
Just kidding.
I kind of always love a codependent where they're like, my wife just can't be alone without me. You know what I mean? Like there's something. If we were like talking about stuff 100 years ago, you're like, yeah, that's what it is. They don't know how to function without each other, whatever. You know,
it's endearing.
Well, that's how
trope
men
of-
built the system. We're like, we'll just give women no credit cards or anything, and we'll force them to be dependent on us.
And they backdoor the dependence on them as well. We're like, I don't know how to cook food or do laundry or do anything.
Oh my God, I know, bro. I'm so worried. I'm not worried.
Literally the foundation of a life.
But I'm like, I hope my parents, my mom sees this. I'm just like, I need my dad to die first. 'Cause my dad, I'm not taking care of that motherfucker.
When my grandma died and she left just my grandpa or whatever, literally there was hundreds of adults they're like, how is he going to do anything?
Hundreds.
They were like, they would be like, oh, so you saw Tryon. How's he going to eat breakfast?
Right.
He doesn't know how to do anything
I'll
by
tell
himself.
you how.
Yeah, I was like, he was the director of a factory that had thousands of employees. They're like, yeah, but he doesn't know what temperature anything is cooked at.
It does not translate. It does not. My friend's grandmother passed away last year, and I remember her saying that, like, "Oh, we're really worried because he like doesn't do a lot of stuff. She's a homemaker. She's been taking care of his ass. Like, this guy went and found himself a new girlfriend. That's what he did.
I got a solution.
Yeah, and they like her at
This
least.
is
Like, it's
my
actually
hoe.
a good person.
Yeah.
But they were like, "How is he going to survive? Oh, find someone else to do
It's
it."
that or a caretaker, and obviously dicking down a new lady sometimes is cheaper than a nurse.
And it's legal.
Radu's grifty wisdom.
If the
folks.
lever still works, if the handle still, that thing be thanging, you know.
The thing be thangin', then get you a new thing.
Oh my gosh.
I want to just see this guy try a little harder. If it was like, I keep talking to her about what this
Yeah.
might be coming from. It's like, let's explore a little bit with the wifey, you know, let's get in there. Why is she being controlling? It's like, it just seems a little bit like, well, she said no and I went behind her back. And I'm like, well, your job is to help lead and work together.
The reason I was like, I wonder, has he done this before? Is this a pattern of like, this is how we deal with things? Like she's just like against stuff and I do it and there's no conflict whatsoever.
Yeah.
She'll never figure it out. Or is this a new development from year 27? Things have changed, like you were kind of alluding to, like the dynamic is giving her a need to hold on to things or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Why
have no
doesn't
idea.
she like the planes?
There's a lot of reasons.
Because
Not
he
like-
wants to do it by himself.
Yeah.
He's going to do a tiny 911.
9/11.
He's going to do a miniature.
The neighbors into model cities.
Oh my gosh.
And then I will finally have all the oil in tiny Iraq. That'd be really funny. Geopolitical, like old guys with models.
I found your tiny Muhammad Atta's passport at the base of my room.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the TLDR that he put, which is wife isn't keen on my hobby, made some side money and bought a plane. Am I the asshole? That clearly like shows us what he thinks the problem is versus like what it actually is. Like,
I wonder if the wife even knows
is
about the
lonely,
side
I've
money.
moved on. Am I the asshole?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Nothing puts me off. Life has taught me this. When I say, like, if someone goes, oh, yeah, oh, that person's such a dick, blah, 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 and I haven't seen it, and like I go, well, what would they say? What would they say that you've done to them? And they can't give me anything.
Yeah.
Anything. I'm always like, I don't know. I don't know.
You think it's impossible?
No, I don't think it's impossible, but it just like, even people who did me mad dirty, I'm like, no, I know. Like, there were things that I did were ambiguous.
Yeah.
Isn't ambiguous enough? And like, I would say if I was on their side, they would take that ambiguous thing as evidence that I'm a bad person or that I hurt them, or maybe they were hurt by it, you know, because it was a playful joke, you know, like, ooh.
Yeah.
So it's like the ability to like perspective take is very important. That's your goddamn wife. So just see it from her side. Top comment by Fred Franny Freckles. Wrote NTA, if your wife can spend a similar amount of money on something she enjoys, but you and your wife should decide how much play money you each get. It's perfectly reasonable for her to want you to prioritize things other than your toys, but this is where having a budget on how much you can each spend on non-essentials comes in. Potter Squash writes, I don't get how you're feeling control when you did everything you wanted on your own. Now empty nesting is the thing. We all do it in our own way. This seems more like you're dealing better with it than her, so hope you give some grace.
Ah, there you go.
This is the first time you've hidden money you all usually share. YTA. If this was done to make a point, YTA. I agree with that. I'm like, yeah, why don't you be there for her and take it as a, you know, have the sophistication and the maturity to be like, hey, what's this really about? Because just trying to fly a fucking plane.
Yeah, and it is something, and he knows it. That's why he hid the monies.
All husbands' hobbies should be fixing their wives anyway. I mean, we read the good book, right?
We read the good book.
We fixed you so you could fix us back.
I also like how the TLDR says bought a plane, and it's like, sweetheart, you bought a remote control plane.
Yeah, dog.
And from a wife's perspective, at least he's buying a fucking what, $1,000 little thing.
$800, yeah. A couple
Cessnas
days.
start at what, 50 easily for a used Cessna. The
Sometimes.
death trap.
Yeah.
You don't even want that. An ultralight. Count me out.
Can I share a sweet memory?
Of course.
Yes, Carla.
One time I was dog sitting in the Palisades, and we got to this little viewpoint, me and the dog, and I got him to sit up on the bench with me. Mm-hmm. And we had like this moment where we were like looking over the ocean, and I had my arm around him and everything. And like from the back, I could just like imagine like just like a comic book strip of like a girl and her dog looking at a thing. And then this lady rolled up and she started flying one of those RC planes. She looked like the homeless woman in Home Alone, the pigeon lady.
Okay.
The unhoused lady.
Okay.
She looked like her kind of, but she started flying this plane, and I was like, this is so sweet. And it was just like, meow.
Oh, it was cute. Okay.
Yeah, it was super cute. And I was just like, a core memory that I had was just like, just me and my dog watching this unhoused lady fly her little plane in the Palisades. And I'll never forget it. And I was like, if anything, I want to have a hobby like that brings joy to strangers in public.
That's so sweet. My mind is so ruined. I kept picturing you by the dog, and then you and the dog kind of make eye contact and like look away, like we're not looking at each other, and then you just look at each other and you start making out.
Oh no, I don't make out with Bojack.
Oh, it was Bojack.
It was Bojack.
I love Bojack.
Of course it was Bojack.
Sweet Bojack. AITA bought a new toy to make a point. I'm sorry, guys. I am at soft YTA. I'm like, I don't believe that your wife of 27 years who you raised 2 kids with is just randomly being controlling. I feel like you need to do a little bit more work and be a little bit of a partner, damn it.
Agreed.
Yeah, worst case scenario, she's actually like developing a schism, a mental illness or something, you know what I mean? And your solution is like, I'm gonna ignore this bitch with my toys.
Yeah. I'm doubling down.
So true.